I think I have very different approach depending on the project. So for VJ was a project with a friend. We also wanted to create something that would work with many different music, techno music. So you always have kind of the same rhythm, but then you can have different themes. And yeah, there are many different options. So we listened to a lot of different kind of techno. And then we came up with this 5 hours material.
Welcome to the No Budget Film Podcast. I'm Ivan.
And I'm Kirill, and today we're joined by Maera Dusapin, who is a Swiss-Korean artist. She makes films, animated films, but also you expand a lot in art. You also make illustration and photography, poetry, which I have to admit is very rare in the animation field. I feel like a lot of people that I talk to only focus maybe on animation or maybe also illustration, but they don't expand as much as you do. And I'm very fascinated by that because it seems like you sort of choose your medium based on the kind of story that you want to tell, rather than starting with one medium and just sticking to it no matter what. And I'm very curious, like, where did that start from? Like, which of these things did you fall in love with first, and how did you expand into all these other things afterwards?
Wow, such a nice introduction. Thank you. Well, I think when I grew up, we didn't have television at home for a really long time. So I didn't grow up with animation so much. I mean, of course, a bit of Disney sometimes, but we would go like to the I don't know how you say, the place where you go and you can borrow some films. Mm-hmm. And we would go there once a week, 4 girls, and each week we could choose one cassette per kid, like one cassette per week. And I think it was such a moment, So I always remember watching those films and be really happy about them. But then when I started wanting to do art, it wasn't about animation because it was something I kind of forgot, I was really younger. But I always knew I wanted to do art. And I used to tell my mom all the time, when I will be older, I want to make art. And she always told me, oh, but art as itself is not a job, like you need to choose. You can make music, you can write. And I was like, well, why should I choose? And I think I still believe that. So, of course, I needed to choose a path, like to go to a specific school. And when I needed to choose, I was super lost because of that. And I went to a preparatory school in Brighton. And there I met many different artists because it was from different countries, and we would do all different kind of work. And I was a bit the one trying things out. Like I did pottery, and then I used the pottery to create a small animated video. But I was more comfortable with I forgot the word. How you say? Stop motion. Sorry. Yeah. So I was more comfortable with stop motion because I didn't know how to use my computer, basically. Mm-hmm. And also I wasn't used for any app or anything. And one day I had this talk with my teacher, and she said, well, you are the only one in the class who has many wishes. So what do you want to choose? And I was like, that's the thing, I don't know. Because I love all medium, and to me telling a story is really much about how is the best way for people to really catch what I want to say. And I think, of course, you can always tell something with the same medium. But then at some point, I, as an artist, would feel bored, kind of, even though I think animation field is amazing and being only a writer is amazing. But I wouldn't feel this way for my work. And I told her that. And she said, but did you ever thought about doing animation? Because in animation, you work with musicians, with sound, you write because you need to tell the story. You create characters. I mean, it's so big, the possibilities. And I was like, but I don't want to make any Disney, like I'm not, that's not what I want to do. It's not free enough for my mind. And she was like, you don't need to do Disney, like you can do so many things. And then I started to make some research on the internet, and I was like, yeah, maybe that's the thing. And then I stopped thinking, and I just applied to a few schools. And yeah, that's how I ended up in animation. And I think it was the best decision, because now I can really use like all the skills I've been told. And it's so wide, like you can always learn, and you can always no more, no less, come back to less, go for more, and use those tools to make stories. And yeah, so that's how. Sorry, it was very long.
Very detailed, very detailed.
Yes.
Probably the most like story told introduction that we ever had on this podcast yet.
Sorry, you want me to do it again?
No, but it was amazing. Just interesting to hear all the like steps that you already thought about it. You already have it clear in your head, which is not easy, because sometimes we don't realize what we go through, and it seems like you already got it like figured everything out. So that's really interesting. But
I think it was really such a big deal in my life how I ended up here, because for so long I didn't know I would do that. And I am still, when I say to people I do animation or I use animation in my work, it's always kind of funny to hear for even myself, because I never really watched television when I was younger. I mean, animation. And then when we had a television, I would never watch animation in any kind, nor like doing video games or anything related with animated images, So, yeah.
Do you watch them more now? Like, do you get inspired by the animation that you see, or films in general? Are you like a cinephile now? Or
actually, I'm very. I was thinking before the interview. What are my inspiration? Who are the people who inspired me in my career? And I think I am not someone who will. Of course, I always get inspired by other people's art and everything, but I don't have really like one person who I follow all the work and everything, because sometimes I feel like a child when I create. And what I mean by that is I really like to try things, craft. And of course, every time I do a project, and I grew up from it, and I've learned many things, and I always go to find some artists, but because I use many different mediums, I will always try to discover new artists. But then there are so many in my mind, and I'm very bad with names. And I was like, maybe if I need to say someone, I would say the very first artist that really, really bring me to, okay, I'm in the right field. I don't know. It's Samuel Paté.
Yeah.
You know about him?
Yeah, I've seen.
And I remember seeing his. I think it was the school project he did. It was travelogue in Tel Aviv. And it was such a different way to do animation. I mean, to me at that time. And I thought, okay, we can really use animation in so many different ways, actually. So I would say that's how I get inspired. But then I started to watch more like short videos and everything. But I don't have like one specific artist or, yeah.
It's really interesting, because actually, like, personally, I never thought of animation of having like so many open possibilities in terms of multimedia. Like in terms of what you can do creatively, yes, we always speak about it. also it was just interesting to see, like, as we got to know each other, like how Kirill's mind changed when he like tried to do something in live action after doing an animated film, like seeing that it's not the same. But actually our conversations were always, I think, almost always about film, and also like people that studied with you, most of them, they just want to like animate. I never thought that if you are an animator, you're actually like also an author from everything that you do, because you can actually like cover all the aspects of a project, not just the animated part. That's also really fascinating.
Yeah, and I guess that's why a lot of introverted people get into animation first, because you can do a lot of things on your own.
Yeah.
And expand from that.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
his path, by the way.
Yeah.
It's not.
But I think that's actually not that true, because since I'm in art field, but also animation, I think I really need to go through my shyness and speak to people, because alone you can do not much. And of course you can create an animation for Instagram or for a company, but even though, like, if you go to a studio, you need to speak to the people, and especially in Switzerland, I think it's small, it's still small, everybody knows everybody, so you need to make a space for yourself, but like be kind, of course, and everything, but you need to speak, because otherwise they won't know you. And I think that's the beauty of the field, but it's also what's a bit hard sometimes, because you really need this to go out of your comfort zone a lot of time. And of course, maybe for what I do, I need to do it a lot, because I work in many different things, and I also want to explore many different things. So if I go to work in a nightclub for VJing, then I need to speak to the staff and to make them know me, so they want to hire me again, and so yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of communication going on. It's a lot of teamwork, and so Ivan and I have directed some films together, and so you have also directed a film, an animated film with Dharma, right? The one that you
Yes,
sent us.
Dharma January. Yes.
Yeah, and so how was that? How was it to not only like create a film with other people, but also to direct it with somebody? What was it like?
Was very, very nice. I think we had a lot of fun. Also some moment of intense questions. So we did it for our second grade, and we had 2 months to create this short, and we wanted to make it very close to a subject that both of us wanted to speak about. So we did a short about violence and rape in couple with Dharma for 2 months. And the theme was obviously very difficult to work in such a short amount of time. So it brought us very close. And it was my only experience to create a short. It's not completely true, because we did many projects in school, but that was the one where I told myself, okay, I want to create it as if I wasn't at school, and as if it would go to festivals afterwards. Even though we didn't imagine to send it to festival at first. And then, yeah, I think it was a really good experience to work in such a short amount of time, because then you need to take a lot of quick decisions. There was no pressure about money, because we were at school, and it was just about how do you create something from the scratch. And then we finished it, and while Annecy, we show it to Marjolaine Perretten, and she gave us such a good feedback, so it kind of motivated us to redo it during the summer. So we took 1 month, and we had to redo every images, because we wanted to create our own brush, and also obviously some scenes. So it was also challenging to redo it because, as you know, making a short or a movie is really, really time consuming and long to redo like all the things. And being together was really helpful. And then when we finished it, we were like, we're not gonna just let it like this, we need to do something out of it. So we sent it, but without really thinking anything. And I think almost 1 year later, we received the first yes for a festival. And then we did it. We did a small tour with it. So
yeah, and you won the Lugano Animation Days.
That was our last.
It was your last. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Wow.
And we were blessed with the Swiss prize, and I was so happy because we every time we got a yes for a festival, we were already like, wow, it's amazing, because it was our second grade film, and for my third grade, I did another project that wasn't about a short, so it's not something I will be able to send to festivals. And I was so excited all the time. We both were super happy. And at the last, when they told me, I was like, is it real? Yes. And I had to keep it for myself for a whole week because they told me I couldn't say it. I mean, I told Dharma, but yes.
Okay. But did you... so that film that you made in the second grade is called C'est super bisou, right? What was the title?
Yeah, in English it's It Was Great, Love You.
Okay. And did you come up with the title out of the dialogue that you wrote, or was it there originally?
No, it came out later. Yes.
Okay.
So we wrote the script, and at the end the guy sent a message, and that basically the title.
And is it viewable online already, or do you plan on publishing it for viewers?
That's on the way.
Okay.
Yes, we need to publish it soon, but for now it's not. But you can find the trailer on YouTube.
Yeah, but actually, also, if I can say, in only 2 months to do a project like this and handle such a team with this kind of also lightness, which is, I mean, because the film is really, I mean, to me, it made a strong impact, but still you don't feel, I don't know how to say, you don't have this because the subject, it could be a horror film, it could be something really powerful, but you can watch it without being like this, I don't know how to say, it's not too visceral, but still it comes through. I don't know how can you develop something like this in only 2 months. That's really interesting. And but yeah, probably it's the quick decisions that you also told before that make you arrive to such a result.
Yes, I think also Stéphanie Cadoré, our teacher, was really great at helping us without telling us how to do things. At first, the male figure was very violent and a bit too straightforward. And she told me, well, if that is your decision, then you need to be aware that everyone will hate him. And maybe what you want to tell in the story is not that someone who does that kind of things is the villain, because in marital sorry, in those kind of violence in couple, you don't always know, or you don't always act as a villain. Sometimes it's just really much about not communicating enough and not being aware of the other person's boundaries. And when she told me that, I was not very happy because I was like, that means I need to rewrite the scenario for like the 12th time. Like, I think I have 20. No, I think I have almost 15 versions of this scenario. And I think it's normal, but for a short film, for me at that time, I felt it was really a lot. And yes, I think that was a really nice thing she told me, because it straight away gave me a direction. And yeah, but I think sometimes we would change, like we would discuss, but is she eating with chopsticks, fork, spoon? So it's kind of quick, but also not quick, because in animation you get to choose everything. I mean, also in real film probably, but
much more.
Like you need to choose the colors, you need to choose how you use the transparency, the rhythm, how do they act, what do they say, and yeah, everything is possible. Basically, you can use many colors, one,
Yeah,
like you need to. So I think because we had not much time, we chose to go with not too complicated setup, so only one color, and that they wouldn't move together. Also that because we wanted them to feel that they were not in the same page. And also that didn't work out to me. It's still something maybe I shouldn't say that, but
no, but
it's been a long time. But I mean, we wanted to try, and that's very artsy, to just decide randomly, okay, they won't move together. Because then first it was to simplify our lives, but then in the end, we were like, but how do we do when they need to be in the same scene, and how do we make it not look weird? For example, at some point they give each other a hug when he arrives, and we just pushed the entire scene away because it was just so awkward to watch. And yeah, I think that's what's amazing in that kind of short project, because it can work completely fine or just go wrong, and that depends on who you ask for advices. Also for the rape scene, we had Stéphanie Cadoret and another teacher that was really nice for storytelling. It's Jean-Jacques Kahn. And I really, really appreciate its lessons. But then when I presented him the scenery, he told me, but why you don't show the rape scene? Because it would make such more like an impression. And I was like, because that's not the point. And also I don't feel like animating a sex scene. And it was really interesting to work with two different persons with the different generation also, and me, another generation, how we see that. So that was really just an entire spectrum, meeting each other for one main subject, but then everybody has their own way of thinking how you should show it to make it memorable. And yes, so
and more often than not, the less is more usually, and that scene is more powerful because it is more surreal rather than showing the actual rape. I personally felt like there was a disconnect between these two characters, also because of the style that of the line work, because it wasn't like just one continuous line the way you would maybe clean up some animation sometimes or some traditional animation. I mean, it feels a lot more organic, but also it sort of contributes to that feeling between the characters and this world that is so disconnected, and there's a lot of miscommunication going on. Did you feel a similar way because of that?
I couldn't articulate as much because I don't know so much knowledge in drawing or animation, but yes, also this thing that like the characters don't have any boundaries. Like I really thought it was very interesting that it almost as it feels the whole room, you know, that person or that moment. Yes.
Yeah, sure. And I read, I think, on maybe it was on your website, some of the statements that you wrote about the short, that the fabric has a very important, like, symbolical role in the film. Could you expand on that a little bit?
Yes, of course. I think fabric, it's all about the sound and what surround them, because we don't, in the short, we don't have a lot of information of where they are and how the apartment look like. And to me, having still an item that comes along and that feels, or normally should feel, comfortable and comfy, and something that you would cover yourself for feeling safe, that suddenly can become a really strong image of this thing being taken out of yourself. So when I was thinking about how do I want to represent the rape scene, for example, it went to my mind for this tissue or drape to be here, so we could use it as a metaphor that would be the body or what we wear and that is taken from us. So that way I didn't have to draw any bodies. There is some hands in the short, a lot of hands. We were laughing a lot about that with Dharma because always hands. But I think it's such a strong way to communicate. You can really see if someone is shy, how you put yourself, how you take things, if you are if you're nervous, if you're angry. I think the hands are really, really strong communicator, like in communications.
Also the legs you use, because you have like what she's crossing her leg. I mean, all of that.
Yes, I needed to make it clear that it was about being sexually assaulted. So I think the legs, it's the first. I mean, it's the closest part if you don't want to draw anything else.
Yeah.
And while still being very strong, I think. So it can be many things. I think in general, the body can tell so much. And that's how I liked. I have one scene with the feet when she goes on her toes. And that shows, I don't know, the gentleness, the beauty of the body also, because we want to understand why the guy is also like wanting to have sex and everything. So it was really about how in like 3 minutes we make it clear that there is some gentleness, but also a lot of violence in this relationship, because it can happen everywhere to everybody if not clear boundaries. And what is also clear boundaries, that movie speaks about that, because of course, like, a no is a no, but then what if in your relation you struggle to say no, and then but you show it so intensely that you don't want, so many things like this. And so it's not about Valentin, the male character, being the bad guy, which obviously it's not good what he did, but what he does. But it's also the responsibility of both sides to be able to speak, but also to be able to understand and to hear it. Because sometimes we try to communicate, to open a door, and then the other one just shut it down. So it's not available for any conversation at all. So that was the point, to have those structure.
Interesting though. Yeah. Probably it comes through anyway that it wasn't just black or white. That's really also something that's really interesting.
Yeah, very hard to do as well.
Yeah.
To make it clear, but also understated in some ways, and very subtle and grounded.
You have to make more films.
Yes.
Please make more films.
I mean, I want to. Not now, but soon.
So you made this film at Ceruleum, right? That's where you studied.
Yes, yes.
And I studied in Lucerne, but I tried in the beginning, I thought of going to Ceruleum instead of Lucerne to study animation, but I didn't. But I've always been curious about what it's actually like to study there. So what was your experience like there? It's also 3 years, right?
Yes, yes. I had no expectations when I arrived. Because as I said, I would almost only use my computer to watch YouTube videos. That was my only skill. And when I arrived, because I had no expectation, it was such a great surrounding to learn, because everything that I've been told was new to me. And I was kind of wanting to get as much as I could. And yes, we started to work on paper, which was also interesting because now I almost never work on paper, but it's really interesting to get to know more about where it comes from, you know, even though nowadays you can work differently unless you work with painting, and I mean, it's so wide. Yes, I think those 3 years, they were super intense. I would work very late at night, but I think that's the story of many animation students.
Oh, yeah.
And I think my very first work on Photoshop was super ugly, but I still remember it with a lot of love because I was actually very, very proud of it. It was a sun with a face inside, like a Teletubbies sun. And I mean, why? But I was really happy to make it. And now when I see it, I'm like, wow, such a long way. So I think they told me a lot because there was not a lot when I arrived.
But
Yes.
the school was mainly focused on animation, right?
Yeah, so they have illustration and animation.
Okay.
And I was in the animation. And I think the way they teached us was more to become studio animators, less than art director or art director. But I always knew I wanted to create my own stuff. So I think I was very artsy for some exercises, and sometimes I would I would make my teacher a bit tired because they were like, what is this? And I was trying a lot of things, but I never felt like cut from these things. They would always try to find a way to understand what I was trying to do or to get to. So yes.
Well, it's very nice that they still kind of give you the freedom to develop your own artistic work or artistic voice. Like in Lucerne, I felt like in the beginning they sort of explained to us, like, I don't know, all the principles of storytelling, 3x structure, all the main techniques of animation, and it felt like it was going in the direction of, we're just going to teach you how to be like animators in a studio, or you know, just people who would be employed by like Disney or somebody. And but then they still give you, I think there was a lot more importance put on just making your own film and developing your own sort of way of telling stories. And I think they're gravitating more around that as time goes on, because they want to be like the school that goes to all the festivals. And but still, you know, a lot of people also can choose to make portfolios and go to studios instead. Do you feel like there was a change in the way animation was taught later on, or like if you go back to Ceruleum sometimes, or if you see the works that are coming out there, do you see like a difference in the way people approach the way they make films there?
Yes, I think Ceruleum has changed every year when I was there. So for example, when I arrived in the first grade, I met many other students from second and third grade, and we didn't have the same lessons or way of being taught. And then as I would go in second grade and in third grade, it was more and more obvious. As I said, I cannot say it's good or bad because I am really happy of what I learned. And of course, there is always different ways to do it. And I think it was never really about creating directors and more about really teaching animation. But in the other hand, we were really told animation with experimenting, I feel like. So, for example, for all the app, we really needed to try by ourselves, fail, and then try again, and then understand. And then at the end, they would give us the key to use it properly and to really like move forward. And for that, sometimes I feel like I could have gone maybe even further with all this key quicker. But it's always the same. You think that afterwards, but now when I need to understand about an app by myself, at least I know where to start and I don't feel completely lost because I'm used to fail and just try things. So for me, it was nice. I think I have some of my colleagues who were a bit more frustrated with this technique. And when you speak about HSLU,
Yes, that's right.
how you say HSLU?
HSLU,
Yeah. Sorry. I also actually wanted to go there, and then finally I decided to stay in Lausanne. But yeah, I think when I think about this school, it feels very different the way. I mean, it feels like every year you have really a specific way to do it, and they would do it every year, evolving a bit with the field and where we need to head. So yeah, it's very different, but I think to me it worked. So
yeah, but it's still
about the production. About the productions. I feel like every school has a bit the way, like a style, you know. And I still feel like Ceruleum has very different people with very different styles. So yeah, I wouldn't say they have a very specific style, but still you can feel they come from Ceruleum and they try things a lot.
Yeah, it's something that I notice when I go to like the premiere. They organize some like private premieres at HSLU for like the films of the new students, and there isn't really a specific style of the school, but every year you see one like specific style for that year. Maybe because all the students work like together or in their own little cubicles and they inspire each other, and you see some like very similar traits in the way people draw, like ears, noses, or the colors that they choose, the techniques that they choose for their films. But is there something like that? Do you notice that?
Yes, I think that's exactly what I noticed. Yes.
But the classes are small now also. How big are the classes, just to understand? Because you are like 20.
Like more like 30 people.
Okay. And you have like also...
Oh, we are really, really small class. When I started, we were 12,
okay.
I think. Yes. And then we finished, we were 5.
5? Okay.
Yes.
And the others?
So it depends. I think it really depends.
Okay.
But it's also a very difficult field and study. So it's difficult in the sense that if you don't work a lot, you get stressed because you feel you won't have work afterwards. And even if you work well, you don't know if you will have work. So I think there was a lot of pressure. And also sometimes just people being like, okay, that's not my thing, and they just left. So yeah, it depends. Yeah.
Yeah, it is difficult sometimes. And I've heard of people who have had a lot of success that I studied with afterwards with animation or maybe some other artistic field. But yeah, some other people decided to maybe go a more stable route and based on the goals that they had. but it isn't easy. But what I like about the Swiss sort of animation bubble is that everybody knows each other, and so you can kind of get to know everyone and maybe collaborate and sort of inspire each other, or maybe even pass each other some projects. So I think that is a very nice thing. Also, just one more thing about the school, because and then we can talk about the other things. But like sound, I remember a lot of attention in Lucerne was put on sound design and music, and it was really considered as like the other half of the film that is necessary to tell a story, and so you have to learn it properly. Was there was the same thing like in Cerulean? Because in your film and in general, like with your work, there's a lot of use of sound and music. It's like very important in your work. But did you feel like at school there was enough attention put into it?
No.
Okay.
Sorry. No. No, I'm kidding. We did work with other schools that would work in music and that were learning about how creating music for films. So that was super interesting because we were helping each other, trying to figure out what worked best and what didn't. But I wouldn't say I was told anything about that, because they would work on that part with their teachers, and we would work on the animation part with our teachers. But what the experience taught me was how to work with a team and with someone that is not from the animation field, and how to communicate my ideas, what I really want for my short, and also in my project in general. I like when the sound is not telling the story, but sometimes yes, sometimes it's very important that it brings the dramatic part. But how do we create the right balance so it keeps the person watching the project still active and not being told to be sad or to be happy? And that was super interesting to work with the musicians, because obviously we all have different sensibilities. And so all my work, I always choose people who really understand my work and with whom I can be completely open if I don't like something, but also very curious about their work. So I think that way I learned a lot, but not through Ceruleum. But the fact that we got the chance to work with other schools was really, really nice.
Well, something that we also noticed in our projects, but I mean, I think in life in general, but also in these kind of things, because you have to be really close for a long time to make a film, is that better, I mean, a person has to be good, like, okay, there has to be some skill, but it's better a person, like I would choose rather a person, not that has like less skill, but that you trust more. Just I would choose someone I trust more, and I know that would care more for the thing and listen instead of just like doing. I don't know. We just had this on some commercial projects, for example. It happened to me that sometimes you work with colorists. That's just something that is really straightforward. Like, for example, you send a raw version of a video or anything, and you just get it after 1 hour, and you're like, okay, how how did you do it? And just sometimes, then you just start doubting everything, because you're like, bro, why did you just use a power grade? You could have just like, just take your time, do this thing. We have time. It's not a hurry. We just had this, like for example, for Sento, for our short as well. We were really like the color was also a difficult part, but that probably also was that's always a bit in the commercial projects, a bit with the budget, because there, as what you said before, you didn't have any money, you didn't have any stress from that side, And that's also a thing where there is money involved. The trust in a person is even more important, I think. And so probably that's one of the most important things that you can learn out of it. I mean, it's nice to hear that already just from this short. It gave you so many inputs.
Yeah.
Because in the end, yes, I mean, if you can't trust the person with your eyes closed, like you know that they will just like put everything they have for it, then maybe it's not right for the project.
100%.
Yes.
And how do you, because when you choose someone to work with, do you take care that they understand the subject? Or, I mean, of course, but if they, that like, is it important for you that they have a relation with the subject? In that sense, I mean, if they had the same experience, or if they got the feeling once in their life, or is it also important for you, or how do you choose?
Well, personally, what is the most important thing for me is that the person thinks outside of their expertise. So if you're a costume designer, you need to think about the story first. Like, what am I making the costumes for? Who is this character? What would he wear? And why? And because a lot of people just want to make something cool. Some directors of photography just want to make a cool picture. Some costume designers or set designers just want to make something for their portfolio. What I'm looking for is somebody who doesn't work just maybe for me and says whatever I say needs to be done for the film, but it works for the story. What are we trying to tell? And so, because even I myself as a director am working towards making a good story. I'm not making it just because I have some vision in my mind that is complete and I just tell people what to do and that's it. So that is the most important thing for me. Of course, if people have experienced something similar to what we're telling in our stories, then that is a plus. But I feel like a lot of people can still find something to identify with in a story, whether it's something major or something smaller. And if you communicate with them properly, then at least they'll understand what is being told. Yeah. What about you?
I completely agree on you on this point. The thing is, one struggle that I notice, and that is always like a bit more clear to me, just because before I noticed that many people work with the same team always, and I used to think, okay, that's not good. Like, probably, okay, it's good, but it's like it's not cool because then maybe you gatekeep some people out, or I don't know, you just don't have different perspectives. But it's true that when you, for example, also on a commercial project, you don't always have the time, or just a school project, 2 months, you don't have the time maybe to search and get to know many people too well. And if you just have to find someone you don't know, it just becomes such a lottery because you never know what will happen, because also in this job there are so many things that you can't really predict. And and the thing is, if you don't know how a person could react to even a small change, like for example, just because Sento was such an interesting project, just because we also like the short film that we shot, actually, I don't know if you watched it, but we could send it to you.
It's the one you sent me?
Yeah, that's
yes,
the one.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, because that one we shot in the mountains, and
yeah,
like,
the landscape are. Yeah, I will say something about later.
but the thing is, the place, like, it was really outside of the civilization. You don't have like even Wi-Fi there, and for example, for that project, okay, it was cool that we had time and we could really a bit prepare with the people, because it's you just like the runner. How do you say it? It's like the animals that you find in the forest. It's like a pig, but with the
boar.
Yeah, the boar. Like the runner, he was sleeping in a tent outside, and he encountered a boar, and during the night. But like he handled it easy, like he was happy, and I mean, you just don't know. You could have someone else, and because we knew him already, we know that he is a person that we can trust, and he's like really chill always. But for example, you always have to also, as you're like in these small houses in the mountains, maybe you have to sleep with another person in your bed. And I mean, for us, it's totally fine, but you never know, like there also you have to understand, and again, with the boundaries, and and you have to see, and And yeah, so it's a really particular job. It's not like just an office where you can just fire someone after 2 months because you're not happy, because maybe you have like that 1 week.
True, it's really like a relation, and you create such a strong bond for a short amount of time. And yes, I think what you said with when I watched the short, I really felt like the poetry behind it. And I think in short, it's not possible if you don't, as an art director or as the team, experience it yourself, like taking the time, watching the right angle. I mean, I never did any real short, but I can imagine that you have to sit and watch around and hear the sound. So it's not a place where you arrive and like, you need to go, you need to, So yes, I think that's the beauty of it. But then you also need to understand your crew needs. And that's part of the timing, and be like in a nice energy all together. So yeah, I think for that, both what you do, Ivan, and animation is, I mean, you both do it, but you also Kirill in animation. But actually, I'm super curious, how is it to work in both fields? Isn't it a bit complicated sometimes to switch from one to another?
If I can just tell you a story that is really representative, but it was like 6 years ago when we were shooting. I don't know if you actually saw Limbo. That was like our first short film.
I'm not sure. Maybe you sent it to me at that time.
I could have. I hope I didn't, but no. But that's why we didn't see each other for 6 years, because you just saw that. No, but I mean, it was our first experience, So it was clearly like it was our first impression, and I mean, I wanted to do that in my life after this, even though it was a really long project, and like we wanted to. It was a 20-minute short, so we really exaggerated a bit with it. But the thing is, just so it was. I remember it was really funny because we had this scene. I think it was like one was where a person, like an actress, had to drink some kefir. I don't know if you know kefir, but it's like
kefir, yes.
Kefir, yes, and here they don't really drink it. And at least the actress, she didn't drink it for sure. Like it's not something.
She hadn't tried it before that scene.
Exactly, yeah. And just that the other crew members, they were like ironically joking about it being bad, and so she didn't want to drink it for the scene. And he was like, "No, but you have to drink the real kefir." And I actually bought some yogurt because it looks the same,
Yeah.
And he was like, "No, you have to drink the kefir because it's like you have to feel it in the scene." I was like, "Yeah, but Kirill, if she drinks the yogurt, it's fine as well." She's like, "No, she has to drink the kefir because it's in the scene. It's like this."
Yeah.
And then, or like another scene, I don't remember. Maybe it was someone was like walking somehow, or maybe did a facial expression, and he was like, "Can't you do it just maybe a little bit more?" And he was like, "No, I can't do it. Like it's not possible." Yeah. And that's because when you do animation, you're so used to control everything, as what you said before, that when you shoot a real film with real people, you maybe are not used to that. And that's actually really funny to see. But now, I mean, the way, for example, Sento worked perfectly because I think that after also years of experience, you just get used to all separate and maybe do the stuff that you can before and then. But yeah, sorry, that was just.
No, that's true. Like I used to think of actors as an animated character that I could just change a small expression in, or just a small movement, or tell them exactly what to do. But a lot of the magic that comes out of film is that something that happens in the moment, accidents that happen, and you learn to control them to your advantage. That is, I think, the beauty of live action for me, because in animation there's so much control, but in live action you are humbled a lot of the time. Maybe the light is not what you want it to be, but then you have to adjust. And so I guess you learn to work depending on the limitations that you have in both fields. But also, there's a lot of similarities because the story, the way I write stories is sort of the same. Of course, the subject matter that I choose or is different. If something is more surreal or just needs to be told in a way that cannot be told in live action, then I make an animated film. So it matters more depending on the subject. But then the way I write, I can't really write in a like experimental way. I like to have like a beginning, a middle, and an end. And also that's probably because we both aspire to making longer films, like feature films. And so the short films are also sort of a training ground for us to get to that point afterwards. Because
and from there, actually, you just generated a new question for her finally. And no, but actually, because what you do, also, for example, in VJing or the theater piece that you did, the visuals and the poetry and all the stuff, like I just was wondering, how do you come up with these concepts? And especially, how do you, for example, because it was first time for me hearing VJ. Like I didn't know that such a profession or field exists. Just because I mean, I know that people that control the light at events or at concerts, sometimes they do stuff on the moment. Like they don't always have everything pre-planned, or maybe just add some effects on the moment. But I didn't know that you could even like modify the visuals or do them with your pen. Exactly, animate on the moment. Like how do you come up with this? Because it's so abstract. It's completely like Kirill, when he told me when we were talking before, he even noted that there is some synesthesia even involved in this. Because
I was wondering if there was something like that. Like if you hear sounds and you imagine specific colors or shapes. I think it's called like synesthesia, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah. Just because it was so, I mean, it's so hard to understand how you come up with this.
I think I have very different approach depending on the project. So for VJ was a project with a friend who is not, she's in architecture, and we wanted to do a project together, and then I got offered this job for VJing, and I thought, well, that could be the project we do together. So I kind of taught her some things in animation. We did rotoscopy. It's rotoscopy in English too.
Yeah.
So we would film each other, and then I would prepare everything, and then she would just draw, and then sometimes take some liberties. And for that project, it was more about listening to the two artists we would do the visuals for, and giving ideas like this. Because when you need to create a full night of visuals, so it's 5 hours, you cannot think too much. So we had an idea. We knew, okay, that's gonna be the beginning when people arrive, because you don't want to have too much straight at the start. And then the middle point needs to be more exciting, but still okay. And at the end of the night, people might be drunk and they want to go crazy. So you want to kind of go with the mood. And there is so many different ways to do it. And we also wanted to create something that would work with many different music, techno music. So you always have kind of the same rhythm, but then you can have different themes. And there are many different options. So we listened to a lot of different kind of techno. And then we came up with this 5 hours material. And I used Isadora, the app for, it's more meant for theater piece, because you work, like you can change yourself like each scene after one another, but you can also do proper VJing, but I'm still learning. So that's why I said sometimes I do more craft, because I learned how to use Isadora for the theater piece I wrote. And then I was like, we don't have enough time for me to learn so many things. So I learned the basics, and then I just decided, okay, no, I'm just gonna keep using it this way, so it's clear in my mind. And so basically we have like the whole night, and I change every 3 minutes, 5 minutes, hours, depending, like the start we change less. So that's how we create. So it's very different than animation. It's more like, okay, what color do we always want to come back? So it creates the link. What shape? We wanted to have animals. We wanted to have 2 girls dancing. And that's how I created. And it was really nice to be with my friend who is not in art, because she was so much freer than me in her mind, like she was like, oh, but why not this and that? And I was like, okay, let's do it actually, and we'll see, And it was a relief also to come, like to sit with her and be less in my mind. How do I create something that is so cool? And so, sometimes when it's your work, you put yourself under a lot of pressure. And here it was just funny, and it's also what people want to have in nightclubs. So and I actually like knowing what people want when they will come to your theater piece, to the clubs, or to a movie theater, or any kind of presentation. It's so important, because then you can also put yourself in a way that when you create, you can give this feeling back to your creation. And it can seem a bit weird saying it this way, but I really truly think that the intention you put when you work on a project will or can be sense for the people watching it. So yes, and in that matter, when you said about animation, when you have to control everything, and I also love to work in animation with, sometimes going out of the way and just going with my hands kind of without, the transparency, and just see what comes up and getting a surprise and be like, oh, can I work with this? And what emotion? Maybe sometimes no emotion, you just go to the trash, but then you can understand what your body also want to tell you. And I think art is so much about that. It's about people who wants to express an idea, and your body will express it, but then how do you give the brain the possibility to give it to your hand and then to draw it? And I think animation, even though you can control everything, will always have this sensibility if you let it. And that's how I like to work when I animate or when I paint. So yes, that's a bit the way I work, I think, in general. Ça, des effets de grandeur.
Oui, 2, c'est bien.
Toi, tu les lèves un peu au-dessus. Pas mal. Puis là, je lève moi.
On voit juste les pigeons, très bien. Alors, on voit un peu le chat, mais bon, faut être sur le côté, quoi.
I knew absolutely nothing about VJing either, like Ivan. Yeah, and do you have any like a test audience before? Because like I'm wondering, how do you? Of course, you can feel a certain way and be like, this is nice, but then maybe in the moment, somebody who's dancing like feels a different way about it. Like, how do you do it beforehand, or do you just sort of go to the actual event and then see what works, what doesn't, and sort of change it for the next time?
No, I think we just really had a lot of fun, and we were like, if we have fun, they will. Kind of. But I mean, we worked at my parents, and we showed them, and they're really not into techno, and they have a really strong, like, they will never tell me if they, like, they would always tell me if they don't like something. And my mom was dancing like, oh, that's, you know, so I was like, oh, so it's, I think it's gonna work. And no, I never, I mean, I went to the place to see the setup, and I always work with drapes. So we had to create the place where the mapping would come on. That was also a big part. How do you create something a bit more immersive, you know, where people feel like or eaten by the visuals or like more with it, you know. There you can do many things. I'm still learning, but I'm really interested in how you create a setup that is not too much but also too little, because sometimes it can just be disturbing, you know. And I think when I go to festivals, music festivals, or any kind of performances where they have a screen, it can really easily disturb me from the main point of my presence at the place. And that was something I was well aware. So I wanted to have a mix between sometimes a lot of intensity in the visuals, and then you come back and you let the person breathe, and you know, like, because when you dance you want to have your eyes closed. And I was really trying to be like, okay, what would I like to have, even though I don't do a lot of clubbing, but I used to go to a lot of techno clubs, so I knew also a bit about like how you want to feel. And yes, so that was one thing. And then when we went on the day, we put like all the scenography and then the projection, and that was really stressful because that was the first time we would have it all together. So it was really like, or it worked well or it didn't, or it doesn't. And I think it's always so nice to see how even it's not perfect, you can always work it out, you know. So at first when we projected, some didn't work because it was too specific, and obviously you have the DJ right in the middle, so some image they were not understandable, so it was just kind of confusing, and some were working very well, so it was kind of a challenge to work quickly. But yeah, I think in that kind of situation you just need to be aware that you are also right, like you can make mistakes, it's fine. And generally what is mistakes for us in art is not a mistake for people who just come to have fun because they're just happy to have something. So that was a weight that I could put on the side. But then obviously I knew what I wanted for them to experience, so I will always want to make it better. But I think VJing really allow you to just try things, you know. So that's what's really cool. And then you're just super tired for 3 days afterwards.
Because you do it for the whole night, right? The event.
Yes, generally from 5 or 4 until 3:30, 4 on the morning.
Wow. Okay.
So like 9 hours, no, 10 hours,
12,
almost 12 hours. Yeah. Great.
Yes.
But I hope that you have earplugs at least or something for...
Yes, I have earplugs, and I ask to be in the crowd.
Ah, interesting.
So I don't fall asleep.
Okay.
And I can see people, what they like the most, how they react. And it's actually very, very nice because it's a moment, like it's not in animation when you do a movie and you go to theater, like you to a movie theater and you're short just 3 minutes and then to another short, and it was like, oh, it went so fast and I worked on it so long, you know. And here it's a different feeling because you worked on it in such a short amount of time, and it was just your ideas, like almost all the ideas you never used that can come on the screen, and the result is just there, and so many people enjoy it, film it, come to you, are really, I mean, at the start of the night it's nice, and then at the end it's a bit less because they're like drunk. But they come to you and you can explain, you can show them, and it's like direct link with the people, and then they're just super happy, you know, and you feel like you did something for the community kind of. It's very, very nice.
Interesting.
The trouble with like screening your film is, you can't really go around and ask people, so what do you think? How is it going? Like, you can, like, if you make a comedy, maybe you can hear people laughing, or if you make a horror film, maybe you can hear people gasping or something. But usually it's very hard to gather like feedback while it's happening, and afterwards you're not sure if they're telling you the truth or if they're just making it sound nice.
Drunk people are very, very straightforward.
Yeah, that's something that I missed. I wish more people
were drunk at our
films.
Yeah. But also the thing, like when you do a short, there are so many things that comes to them, like that are shown to them. So I understand that it's so hard. I mean, I always have things coming to my mind when I go to festivals, but then at the end, it's just I need sometimes to just figure it out, you know. And I think it's just very different, the two medium and the way you can handle it. And yes, I think it's really what I love about that. It's that normally when I write stories, I love to do it in a very poetic way. What I mean by poetic is kind of if you can feel like sitting and looking around and having some keys in order to think about your own life and being like having a hand taking you in a trip kind of, and having just a nice moment for yourself. So I'm not waiting for people having big reaction, you know, because that would be weird. So yes, I think when I saw that the first night I did it, because now I did it a few times, I was really surprised. I was really surprised to see people be like laughing because they see something they find funny, and suddenly they start to dance more because the rhythm in the image and the music match, or like when I change from a visual to another, and when it works well, like on the music, because sometimes it's less good and sometimes it's very good. When it works, you can really feel the crowd like having kind of a movement, you know. It's very interesting, I think, to me.
Just because you thought about festivals, by the way, because we met at Fantoche when we were doing the young jury. But look, it sounds like 70 years ago, but just 5 actually.
No, 5 only?
5, yes, I think. No, it was like 2021. You also thought it was maybe more. It sounds to me like
it was the year he participated in like 3 young juries, like every festival there was.
Yeah, really.
Participated in it. Yeah.
But it was funny, but still, like it was. No, I think it was couple days. Now it was not too long. I think.
Yes, I think it was 2 days.
Yeah, something like that. Like we watched, just as you told before, like 15 shirts for every day, and like it's just not the way you can experience everything, right? Yes. But still, like it was interesting. Like just because like we just did Locarno Film Festival, I think it was like maybe 1 month before together, also in the young jury, and there you just look at 2 or 3 films, which is also too much in a day, but still you get time to at least understand what you watched. And so it was so different. It was interesting.
We watched feature films there, but I heard from people who watched short films, they also had to watch them all the time, and a lot of them, and they were kind of all mixing up together. Yeah, so it is hard.
Yeah, probably it's just the short films.
Yeah.
But I think it's also interesting to experience to watch so many films, because then your brain kind of really just remember what's going on in your, like, really remember things that is related to what's going on in your life, and what you know also about the field, because probably if I rewatch those, I will not stop on the same things that stopped me at that time. And yeah, it's really interesting. When I did a youth jury in VJing in Lyon,
Oh, you did it later or before or
Later,
before?
later, yes. And it was interesting because I was the eldest and the youngest was, I think, at that time 15.
15.
And I was already 22, I think, or 21. And it was interesting to have a discussion with her and the other ones, because all different visions. We all had different visions, and at that festival we had to watch, I think, 30 shorts by sessions, and we had I think we had 2 or 3 sessions, so it makes 60 films or more. It was very intense, and it's documentary, so the subjects are very like about ecology, about human rights, and super intense also. So it was interesting as an exercise in your brain, because normally you will never do it in your room. I mean, some people probably, but I wouldn't.
Kirill maybe so. Well.
You want to say something?
No, well, I used to watch like a lot of them, but of course, if you can't share your thoughts with somebody, I mean, you can tell them what the film is about, but if you don't experience the same thing, it's much harder to sort of share your experience that way. So, I stopped watching hundreds of films a day because they all kind of mix in your head, and they don't inspire you anymore. They're just like a weight on your shoulders, right? If you have to share that experience with somebody, at least I think you will remember the films much more, because you have to articulate what you did, what you liked, what you didn't like. You hear what people say, and maybe you change your mind on certain things. It is a much better way of experience film, but of course, like the cinema experience, I feel like now is only like mainly present at film festivals or in countries where it's cheaper to go to a cinema. Because here in Switzerland, like you have to, like it's more of an event. But the thing is, films are not treated as an event anymore. There's so many of them coming out, and so when you go there, like people used to dress up real well, and you had like a 3-hour movie with an intermission, and it's just not the same. And so I guess sometimes I kind of mourn that fact, and I look forward to film festivals where you can kind of feel that people are excited about cinema. I don't know.
But still another thing, was very interesting, and I'll never forget it, like especially in this Locarno jury that we did together. Like we were nine people in the main film category. So it was like the films of
So you did it together?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we just went there together, and the thing is that exactly it was like 17 films, and it was the main category. So
the international one.
International category, yes. And so basically it was, I mean, it was also quite different films. Like there was a comedy that was so funny that like the spectators were clapping during the film. I never saw something like they were really like, we were laughing so much, like 2,000 people like standing ovation during the film. So it was so funny. Another film was like depressing, like you want to die really well while you watch it. Another one is so slow, like 2 hours, and I remember it was so interesting because like we'd never had a film, like even a single one where everyone agreed. And I remember there was like this film we were watching, I don't remember the name, but there was like this scene of this duck going against the river, you know, like the river is flowing this way, the current, yes, and the duck is going that way. And the shot was like 3 or 4 minutes of this duck, and I just remember with him, I just look at him and like, well, come on. And we were laughing so much because it was not it was not a comedy, but we were just, maybe we saw too many films, or I don't know, we were finding it so stupid that we were like laughing, and I just saw like the others were so serious during that scene, and I was like, okay, maybe I don't know. And afterwards, speaking, we were like 5 were like, oh, that's the worst movie I ever saw, like us, and the other 4 were like a masterpiece, you know. And I don't remember if we gave it a prize to this film in the end.
No, we didn't.
We didn't. Okay, but it was one of the like really most Like and I was just wondering, polarizing. Yeah, we were just wondering like how, like it opens your perspective so much because you don't actually think that it could be so different. And if you watch them alone or maybe just with one person, you will never have such a impact as on a festival actually. So, but actually what I wanted to ask you when I began this whole topic was something like this, but it came out anyway that it helped you somehow to gain new perspectives and new things. So yeah, but that's interesting.
I wonder then, because we all did jury at some point in our lives. For you, what is a good jury? What is a good jury? What do you think? Or for you, what is the criteria that makes you bring a film? Like in your experience, what was like something that make you decide, okay, now I love those two films, but this is more important? I mean, obviously there is always how much money they had or how many people they were. There is all these things, but what is the most important criteria for you?
It's a hard one.
Yeah, because I don't know, like I like to be immersed in a reality that I don't have access to on my like daily life, and so I just like when a film just wants to tell a story rather than tell like a message, a specific thing, try to raise some issues. Like I feel like there's a place for that maybe in documentaries. I feel like films that are only like fiction, I like them to be fiction, to put me in a different world, whether it's like a fantastic world or whether it's some village in like Kazakhstan. I think that's very nice. And when it comes to like the jury, just to have a diversity of thought. The people thinking, a polarized jury, you know, where everybody thinks something different about a film that they watched, and somehow you have to come to an agreement afterwards. I don't think we ever argued when we were, you know, deciding which films to select and which not. So I think you can have a jury where very few people agree on something and still come up with a solution. And I think those are the most interesting ones, because if everybody agreed, then it wouldn't really be an interesting experience. I think I would feel like something's wrong here. I feel like somebody's lying, and some of these films aren't actually good. And that's, I just enjoy being with people who I clearly disagree with on a lot of aspects, but we can still find an agreement afterwards.
Yeah, actually that's a good point. And I think also an important thing is that you don't, like, it's important that you just detach from your biases the most you can, because I mean then it usually, I mean for sure it depends on the festival. But for example, a festival like Locarno, I don't know if you've been, by the way, but if you haven't, you have to. And
no, I haven't.
August 2026, you know, it's 10 days, so you're welcome to come. But no, but the thing is that
you're pitching it like it's your festival.
Exactly, as I'm director of the festival. No, but it's a really interesting experience because, I mean, first it's not only the festival, but the thing is, the films are really experimental, or just like films that you wouldn't ever watch anywhere else.
Yeah.
And so there, for example, it was really important that I remember some films at first I didn't like, or maybe I just thought, like I was even pissed off, maybe, like completely like angry at the movie. But then you speak about it and you actually understand something that you didn't before, or just it gives you a new perspective, new idea, anything. And I think it's important that you are open to listen to what the other people say, because it's easy to say, oh no, he just didn't understand it, or like, yeah, this film is stupid, and it's maybe harder to get through that and arrive at a point where you humble down and you say like, okay, why didn't I like it actually? Like, what was the thing that I didn't like? So probably yeah, it's all of this. What do you think about it actually?
I wanted to say the other way around. It's also a good quality to be an art director, because if you're not able to listen to other people's opinion, then you cannot create something that will reach the right audience, or you decide it's not the right audience, but then you don't ask the question to the person. And yeah, I think it's a very good point that you need to. You can have a strong opinion, but in art, having a strong opinion is most of the time also putting you into struggle for not much reason, because we always evolve. There is always a place for difference, and yes, to me, being in different jury, also for different work, like movie, like documentary with real people. I don't know how you say in English.
Live action.
Live action. Thank you. And animation. I think was very interesting how you create a criteria grid in order to find the right middle, because obviously everybody has a different way of thinking. But I think to me the most important is to think, okay, does this person touch something that I would like them to tell me more about? You know, do they have I don't know, a way of doing things that makes me want to see more? And if yes, would I like to give them, you know, the strength also? Because I think when you are in the jury, it's kind of a power that is not really power, because I mean, who are you? But it's also a moment where you can really give someone the strength to go on. And as someone who had a film in some festivals and who was in the jury, I think to be in both sides, I think that is one of the points, because I wish that if someone give me a prize, it's because they want to know more about my work, and it's not just the work they see and they're like, okay, that was good and that's it. Because then it means I haven't touched them the way I wanted to, because I think it's the whole universe I have inside of myself, and we all have that. We all wish they will touch someone, you know. And yes, I think that is one of the things. And also, is there anything that is very memorable, you know? I think the story about the duck, for example, it's been a while since you were in the festival, and still you remember it. So it's, I mean, and it doesn't mean it needs to win a prize, but I think for that it can have a prize in your heart, you know.
It's true.
It's enough, you know, like it doesn't have to be perfect to be memorable, I think. And that's also something very important, because nowadays it's harder and harder to get foundings, I think, and we are more and more in the competition, or in the bubble, animation bubble and everything. So yeah, I think that's also something very important to remind the people who come out of the schools, and that sometimes you can do something very memorable without having so much, or like a big crew around you. And yeah, maybe I told myself that because I really want to to believe that. But yes.
No, but I agree.
I think that's one of the points.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree that, you know, I think the worst films are the mediocre ones, where it doesn't leave you with anything. It just leaves you completely indifferent about what you watched, and you just forget about it. So either it has to be very bad or very good, or you have some memorable, because usually even bad films have at least like one or two scenes that you will remember, and it's like, wow, this is, the whole story is a mess, and maybe these actors aren't good, but these few scenes are memorable and they might inspire me. So it is sometimes a challenge, but also a good practice to sort of look for things that you actually liked in a film, no matter if it was good or bad. We're so used to just going online and looking on like Rotten Tomatoes or Letterboxd or something, like, oh, this is a 2-star film, so I'm not going to watch it. But still, you can find something good in any film.
But that's the question becomes: are there bad or good films? Like, I don't know. So there are.
Yeah, what does that mean? Yeah, also the mood. you are in. I mean, I watch very bad, as known as bad movies, you know, like teenage love story, and I enjoy myself quite a lot. But I would never write that kind of story. But that's also a good example of, okay, I don't want to do that kind of things, but I think it's also nice that some people are really happy to create that kind of story and it's still going on around, you know, and being watched. So yeah, what is good, what is bad? I think
that's the ultimate question.
Yeah. One thing that made me think a lot, I remember I saw a review on Intouchable on Letterboxd, and I remember like it was a 1 star, and it was like, how can you make a film about like disabled and immigrant guy? It's too easy. I'm like, oh, what? Why should you complain about it? Like the film is good, it's funny. Okay, it's too easy. No, but I just remember like there, it was one of the moments I stopped looking at reviews and stuff, because I was like, okay, maybe if this is a 1 star review, then like whatever, okay. Maybe we are too focused on this sometimes, that's for sure. Also, yeah, it's true, when I look for films, usually I just think about, I have so many good films to watch, so I have to watch one of these that has like 4.3, you know. Can't look at 3.7. Why should I? And then you see maybe it's a Ethan Coen movie, and you're like, well, but if the Coen brothers made it, probably it's a good movie, but it's 3.7, I don't know if I should watch it. But it's so stupid. Yeah. I mean, who cares?
Do reviews impact your viewing experience or what you look for?
Do what?
Do reviews impact like the kind of films that you want to watch, or?
Oh no, I don't even watch trailer most of the time. Okay. I just go for it. So I am probably the title and the first image. I think I'm very... But also, I think I was traumatized because when I wanted to go to the cinema, and I watched the trailer, and then I saw in the trailer they were kissing each other, and it just ruined all like why I wanted to go to the movie. So now I don't do it. But yeah, now you think I'm only watching love story, which is not true. But I think that's the most relevant that comes to my mind now. Example. No, I also think if you only look at the reviews, then you will always be influenced in some way. So you can I would rather watch it and then look to the review, because obviously I am curious sometimes. So sometimes I do watch the review to YouTube videos, for example, podcasts or things like this, because then I am interested. I'm like, oh, what do those people think? But before, I think it's too easy. It's like, I mean, sorry, I don't want to say that you're taking the shortcut. It's not what I mean. But I think to me, it would influence myself too much. And also, when I want to be creative in a way that I put myself into no boundaries. So I want to be happy to create something that I feel like is very random, without asking myself too many questions, because that's just the free will that we can have. And yeah, sometimes with my friend, we just film random things. We just film each other, and we are really bad actors. But thanks to that, I get more and more creative, because then when I want to create something that is more serious or that I can show to the world, I feel less stressed, you know. If I sit in front of my computer and I'm like, okay, I will write something that is smart, you can be 100% sure it will not work. So if I don't ask myself and I'm just like, okay, what's in my mind? What's going on in this subject? Why is it in my heart for so long and now I want to use it? What are the images? And I work like this. And if at one point I start asking myself, oh, will people think it's too low as a subject? Then you can make sure I will never use it. And maybe it's good, because then maybe I don't do bad work. but also I think most of the time I try really to put that idea away, and then it works, and people are happy with it because it's really true to myself. So in that sense, when I was in the jury, I really, really tried not. I mean, obviously you have the first idea. I like it, I don't like it. But then if I don't like it, why? And why is it interesting? Why doesn't respond to my personal experiences? And yeah, I think it makes and watching people like movies that you don't like, it's the same. Like it's so interesting. Sometimes even more empowering than just watching things that you like, because then at some point you just do always the same things then.
And you stay the same person, yeah, you don't evolve.
Yes, exactly. I mean, it's important to be happy with what you watch and keep like enjoying yourself, but in a sense you can also find joy in what's different from what you normally do or see. So yeah, I think that's a bit how I work. And that's how I get also to try just randomly, okay, I want to do VJ and let's go. So yes.
Yeah, and I think this is a good moment to maybe wrap up, because I mean, we could talk to you for a lot longer. We could maybe also do like a follow-up when you have a new project.
Or if you come to Locarno,
you know. To Locarno, yeah.
I mean, thank you for being with us, and yeah, we see each other at the next episode.
See you each other in the next episode.